So as a part of the Social Justice Committee's commitment to bring racial justice regularly to our services and to lift up Black lives that have mattered to our country's evolution, and attempt to learn our true history, I will talk today on the nonviolence movement, John Lewis and Jim Lawson. The nonviolence movement was the critical structure of John Lewis's entire life and the driving force of the civil rights movement from 1942 to 1968. Lewis was a part of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and learned about nonviolence from his mentor, Jim Lawson, a leading theoretician and tactician of nonviolence within the civil rights movement. Lawson taught the students about Reinhold Niebuhr and his philosophy of nonviolent revolution, ancient thinkers like Mao Tse and Lao Tzu, and they read Thoreau and discussed and debated every aspect of Gandhi's principles like concept of ahimsa, the Hindu idea of nonviolent passive resistance, and Sutahagruhu, I murdered that one, literally steadfastness and truth, and active pacifism. And they learned about the Christian idea of redemptive suffering. I'll read you what Lewis writes about the foundation of nonviolence, and I think this will speak to its beauty and power and importance no matter what time we are living in, and I think it answers the questions of what world do we want to create. Suffering puts us and those around us in touch with our consciousness. It opens and touches our hearts. It makes us feel compassion where we need to and guilt if we must. Suffering, though, can be nothing more than a sad and sorry thing without the presence on part of the sufferer of a graceful heart, an accepting and open heart, a heart that holds no malice towards the inflictors of his or her suffering. This is a difficult concept to understand, and it is even more difficult to internalize, but it has everything to do with the way of nonviolence. We're talking about love here. Not romantic love, not the love of one individual for another, not loving something that is lovely to you. This is a broader, deeper, all more encompassing love. It is a love that accepts and embraces the hateful and the hurtful. It is a love that recognizes the spark of divine in each of us, even in those who would raise their hand against us, those we might call our enemy. This sense of love realizes that emotions of the moment and constantly shifting circumstances can cloud that divine spark. Pain, ugliness, and fear can cover it over, turning a person toward anger and hate. It is the ability to see through these layers of ugliness, to see further into a person than that perhaps that person can see into himself, that is essential to the practice of nonviolence. If you can see this full-grown attacker who faces you as the pure, innocent child that he or she once was, that we all once were, it is not hard to find compassion in your heart. It is not hard to find forgiveness. And this, Jim Lawson taught us, is the essence of the nonviolent way of life, the capacity to forgive. When you can truly understand and feel, even as a person is cursing you to your face, even as she is spitting on you or pushing a lit cigarette into your neck or beating you with a truncheon, if you can understand and feel, even in the midst of those critical and often physically painful moments, that your attacker is as much of a victim as you are, that he is a victim of the forces that have shaped and fed his anger and fury, then you are well on your way to the nonviolent life. And it is a way of life. This is something Lawson stressed over and over again, that this is not simply a technique or a tactic or a strategy or a tool to be pulled out when needed. It's not something you turn on or off like a faucet. This sense of love, this sense of peace, this capacity for compassion is something that you carry inside of yourself every waking minute of the day. It shapes your response to a curt cashier in the grocery store or to a driver cutting you off in traffic, just as surely as it keeps you from striking back at a state trooper who might be kicking you in the ribs because you dared to march and protest against an oppressive government. If you want to create an open society, your means of doing so must be consistent with the society that you want to create. Means and ends are absolutely inseparable. Violence begets violence, hatred begets hatred, anger begets anger, every minute of the day, in the smallest moments as well as the largest. The all-encompassing love is like spring. It will come around. and a graceful heart will grow just like the grass if you acknowledge it.